Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of the 100. So in this episode, we deal heavily with the next, the successor to Lexa, the next commander. And initially, it seems like it's going to be the one that Lexa had chosen was the boy named Aiden. And Clark wants to go to him and talk to him because at the very least, he's the one that Lexa had promised that, when he takes her place, because that's the one she chose, he's the one she chose. When he takes her place, he'll have to protect the people of Sky Crew. And she wanted to go there to make sure he was going to do that. But then he also says, like, all of them, all the other candidates, all the other kids made the same promise to Lexa too, that they are going to look out for Sky Crew. So Clark was happy about that. But then there was what's her name? She's the right hand lady of the late Ice Nation Queen. She was like that when was it Clark tried to poison? Who was it? She tried. Well, yeah, it was like she tried to poison the Ice Queen. But she was the and Tari was the one that stopped her and was about to kill her. Basically, she's come to present herself as not just a candidate, become the next commander, because apparently she has some lineage connection to the commander. Like, I guess some past commander is an ancestor of hers. She does a pretty messed up thing to ensure that she becomes the commander. She kills all the other candidates, who I mentioned earlier were all children. She severed their heads and even put them in bags. We don't see it on screen, but she even holds up one of them. I can only assume out of anyone, it'd probably be Aiden's head that she held up just for spite, I guess. But now she's like, I'm now the commander. So basically, she's the one that gets the flame, which is basically the AI that they dug out of Lexa. That it's known as the Flame. All the while this is happening, back at Arcadia, Pike wants to execute everyone in the cells for their for Kane's treachery. But Lincoln kind of talks him out of it and tells him, okay, no, like, you should only punish me, not my people. And so he basically says, okay, Sinclair, you, and Kane will be the only ones executed. Bellamy hears this and he decides to go to the other two of the original 100 that are there, that were working with Kane, and he's asking him and Monty are asking them, like, okay, we can help you out, but they're kind of like giving them the cold shoulder because they don't believe either one's trying to help them out. But Bellamy's like, whatever, just let me talk to Octavia. And Monty's like, you guys don't trust me? And they're like, where's your mom, Monty? And he just walks away. Bellamy meets up with Octavia, but Octavia, being suspicious of him, knocks him out, takes him back to the cave where her and Indra are held up. Indra's like, you shouldn't be doing this, and Bellamy's like, you gotta listen to me. You have to join up with me, or I can help you take down Pike. But Octavia's done listening to him, and it's sad because Bellamy is legitimately trying to make up for what he's done, but Octavia's basically like, I don't care if you are. She's kind of like, I don't care if you are, I don't know for sure if it's that she doesn't believe that he's trying to make up for everything that's happened, or she just doesn't care because he's done too much, and it's like there's no forgiving what he's done. He even tries pleading with Indra, later on, and Indra's like, no, after all the people you killed, he's like, but I didn't kill you. She's like, why didn't you though? And he said the same reason why you haven't killed me. And she's like, Octavia. Octavia's the only reason why he spared her. And it's kind of, like I've said it before, Bellamy fucked up. But it's like, I understand where he was coming from. He was hurt. Their people died. It's kind of the same. It's kind of like, it's not the same thing as actions that Clark had to take during Mount Weather. It was just, he was hurt, pissed about the whole situation, and he didn't have Clark there to help guide him back to, calming down. If Clark was there, maybe things wouldn't have been the way they are, because he had Pike in his ear talking, so he kind of got swept up by Pike. But I feel like if Clark was there, that situation never would have happened, because she would have talked Bellamy out. Because Bellamy, out of anyone, Bellamy heavily listens to her. But eventually, because initially in the episode, Kane was talking to Abby, and Abby was like, "Oh, we need to fight this. I can help you out." Kane told her not to get involved, but she did anyway. She even made a joke like, I haven't been listening now. I haven't been listening before, so why should I start now?" Because he kind of did a very ingenious thing where they basically had Lincoln, Sinclair, and Kane. Basically, they kind of let Pike know that they're coming to rescue them, so they had them stashed off into a specific room, and basically they quote unquote knocked out the guards. Granted, they had an inside man, and basically they hid Lincoln, Sinclair, and Kane hid under the floor. They had the jail cell open, like they ran out and were running around Arcadia or something. But truth be told, they were hiding underneath, obviously, and they got out. And they're about to leave when and Monty actually helps out a little bit too, like telling the guards that tells them the wrong direction to be searching for them. And then his mom is like, "What are you doing, Monty?" He's like, "I'm helping out my friends." And basically, Pike is about to ask him about the situation. His mom covers for him because she's not about to let her son, get killed off like them. But the others are able to escape, but not before Pike is able to make an announcement saying if he will kill the other prisoners if someone doesn't come back. And Lincoln decides to stay, and Octavia's like, "No, you can't." And even Kane's trying to talk him out of it, but Lincoln says his goodbye to Octavia, and then he injects her and with some stuff and knocks her out, and has Kane take her out, and he turns himself in, and sadly he gets executed by Pike. He even says, Pike's like, "Do you have any final words?" And he was like, "Not to you." And I was just like, every time, because the whole time that scene was coming, I was turning away from the TV. I was like, no, no, no. Part of me knew he was going to die. I was like, because Clark needed him. I felt like just because Clark needed him and the way the situation was, I was like, he's going to die, isn't he? And yeah, I was hoping something would happen and he'd get the whole situation be intervened or something. But sadly, no. He ended up dying, which breaks Octavia's heart. You see her kind of about to cry, but then she kind of pulls it back, and you just see nothing but rage in her eyes, which I'm predicting this. Octavia is going to be the one to kill Pike. I just get that feeling. But the reason why Clark needed Lincoln is because Lincoln knows where one of the extra candidates is. Because there was an 8th candidate that Alexa doesn't really talk about. Apparently, someone named Luna, who only Lincoln knows where Luna is. Because basically, Clark went to Titus about this. Because Titus still, at one point he was about to blame Clark because he was like, "It's not my fault, it's your fault that Lexa died." It's like, no, you're the one acting the way you did, It wasn't Clark's fault. Let's not forget, you were the one waving around the gun trying to kill Clark and make it look like Murphy. He was still at fault whether he wanted to admit it or not. He just blamed Clark because he's basically saying if it wasn't for Clark, he wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, basically, Clark suggests looking for this other candidate, and so he gives her the flame, the chip, the AI that goes into the commander, and basically find the commander. And he stays behind because basically Murphy's off distracting Antari. Basically, she's in a bath, and she's like, "You're not afraid of me, are you?" He's like, "No, there's very few things I am scared of." Which to me can only, I'm hinting at a possible, her having a thing for Murphy. I did like this entire time, Murphy's just like, let's go. And basically every time Clark was like, "No, we have to stay for a particular reason." And it's just like, I was literally tortured here, by Titus. So it's like, obviously he doesn't want to stay any longer than he needs to, especially with the situation constantly developing it the way it is. But basically, it came down to it, and they ended up finding out that, Clark has the flame, and they're basically like, because Murphy points it out. It's like you can't kill Titus because he's the only one that can do the ritual, the passing of the flame, the rite. So, but he ends up pushing himself onto the knife and killing himself. He's like, for Lexa. So a part of me thinks, obviously in servitude to her, as well as probably him trying to make some amends for, killing her. And Antari gets the idea. She's like, let's just tell people I've been chosen the next commander. It's like, you don't have, the flame. It's like, so we're the only ones that know that. He's like, what, obviously Murphy's over there. And Murphy's like, well, I like to keep my head. So, like I said, I'm getting the feeling like there's going to be a bit of Antari and Murphy, because it seems like she's kind of got a little bit of a thing for him, especially when she was getting out the bath and he kind of checked her out and she was kind of smiling about it. So, but basically the prince who became the king, who is now serving Antari, is basically ordered to go hunt down Clark and bring back the flame. So we'll just have to see where everything goes next week. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.